obviously this was a night where Lex Luger was involved in the King of the Ring. However, both he and Tatanka at the time would go to a legit 15-minute draw, which unfortunately meant eliminating both of them. Don't know, really felt that was a little bit harsh on both guys. But Matt, I remember we covered this, and I've got to say I was really impressed with this match. I felt like, if anything, at least on TV, this is probably one of Luger's best outing up until this point. Seeing what this guy's about, and I kind of felt like he although he was his character, he was kind of like the old Lex Luger that I'd probably seen at Bash at the Beach and all the rest of it in WCW. It was a bit more of that, and I'll be honest, I felt like the fans towards the end were actually really digging what he was doing, even though he was supposed to be heel. I think we both picked up on the reactions that he was getting at that time at the King of the Ring. What was your take on that match? And obviously, do you feel that they might have... I mean, was Luger... I guess they probably didn't want to put Luger too far up the King of the Ring ladder if they knew Brett was winning, and if they had that idea from the get-go, then why put Luger in the finals? But would this been something that Luger could have used to help him get further, or was this, in a way, Luger is the heel here, and it just... I mean, I kind of see it as that it was like Luger helped himself this night and got a good performance, maybe better than what anyone probably expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, go back to those good old days when they knew just how to book a match.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys, I don't know what it was, but the chemistry was there on the night. And I remember, like you say, we covered this in depth, like not too long ago, actually, like last year, I think it might have been. But yeah. And I remember, like, when I was watching this match, I really enjoyed it, and I was just kind of asking myself why. But I think if my memory serves me right, did both these men come into this match, like, with undefeated kind of streaks on as well?
Yeah, I think that's why this ended up being the draw that it was.
So it was a really good call then, in fact, to have the time limit draw, because, you protect both guys, and they both put on a hell of a good show out there. And, and like you said, if Bret Hart was destined for glory, then why put these guys in the lost column when you can just keep that undefeated streak going? Sure,
yeah. So it's worth pointing out that this was the night that Yokozuna would win back the WWF title. It wasn't exactly done clean. Of course, they done the whole Smalls finish with the camera incident. And it's pretty much here that everyone is reporting, Matt, that they are going to have the rubber match at SummerSlam. They are going to go to a third match between Hulk Hogan and Luger. But the night after, on the Wrestling Observer, in the wake of the King of the Ring tournament, Meltzer writes, Hulk Hogan's future with the WWF is up in the air. Early last week, Hogan, along with his associates, Brutus the Barber Beefcake and Jimmy Hart, pulled themselves from all his previously committed dates, with the exception of the shows in the coming week in Chicago and Boston, and of course the entire European tour that starts in 5 weeks, which was going on. In addition, another man working in the same WrestleMania and house shows scenarios, Ted DiBiase, officially gave notice that he will be leaving after SummerSlam pay-per-view event to work as a regular for All Japan Pro Wrestling. So this is, I guess, what I'm trying to put across here, Matt, is this is probably the first time that Vince probably feels the pinch a little bit with some of these big guys kind of leaving him. Now, it wasn't as much craziness defecting, because Hogan did not defect to WCW straight away. There was a gap between that, and obviously DiBiase, he's going off to Japan. But it's like, I think maybe now that WWF is in a lot of problems outside, business is not bad, but it's not what it was. Do you feel at this point, Matt, that alarm bells would be ringing and Vince has got to find his next big guy, and it's where does he go with that? Do you think he's already thinking that from this point? Because I can't imagine, even though Luger was very well protected here, I can't imagine that he's thinking, Luger's going to be the next replacement for Hogan at this point, because why would you bring Luger in as this kind of annoying heel, that not annoying, but like this kind of guy that you really cannot like, you cannot get any kids like in this character. So do you think that it was more of a spontaneous move here, I guess is what I'm trying to say, with the whole Lex Luger switch here with his character, because of what was going on with Hulk Hogan at the time?
Yeah, I've got to say, it does definitely have that kind of spontaneous feel about it, really, because that was almost a complete U-turn of a character for the guy. And yeah, like you said, a lot of people were departing and the options were thinning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, short of bringing in more new talent, which, of course, is incredibly difficult to do, especially ones that are capable of working at the top level,
sure.
You start having to look around at what you've currently got in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, well, I want to jump ahead now, and we're going to hit July now, early July 1993, on the Raw show here, which was filmed on the 5th. And Lex Luger pins Razor Ramon in 6 minutes 10 seconds with a forearm. Both guys tried, but it was pretty bad, reports Meltzer. Nobody knew what to make of Ramon since he worked as a face, but was still a heel on TV. Nobody cares about Luger, he reports. No heat. It was made worse by having to follow guys who can work. Luger took off the elbow pad and used the forearm for the pin. Not a great match, reports Meltzer. So he's still doing that at this point. They're still kind of positioning him as the whole Luger, the narcissist, I guess, of Lex Luger. This Meltzer reports here, and this is obviously where things start to change for Luger. But he reports that this brings up the obvious comparison with Luger and Bret Hart, who are kind of at this point being penciled in as potential next top guys. Now, in a sense, Matt, they're very different because it's like you've got the workhorse of Bret Hart, who has already been WWF champion, but would feel hard done by the way his run finished. But obviously, he's just come off of a King of the Ring. And then you've got the look and presence of a Lex Luger, which, you can't not imagine that being Vince McMahon's choice, I guess, at this point. Before we get into the character what eventually would be, Matt, if you was booking as Vince McMahon here, would you have, having Luger as a babyface, do you think Luger could have pulled it off with maybe a little bit different way of promoting this guy? Was there potential for this to ever work, do you feel, at this point for this guy?
Yeah, I think, like he was quoted, like saying the total package, at that time, the guy did have it all. He had the skills in the ring, and he had the body, and he had the look. I just don't think that it was really such a great idea to take Hogan's gimmick and just give it to Luger and think that would be fine and that no one would notice and that would be a natural transition. I don't really think that someone automatically becomes a hero just by putting on some star-spangled pants, I think it takes a lot more than that and a lot more time. The fact that they wanted to just rapidly shoot him straight to the top, and it's almost like they were trying to force him onto people, and they were saying that you must kind of like the guy. And even to the fact where they would try so hard that it would often feel a lot like, almost like completely cheesy at times. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Meltzer reports here with the whole whoever they're going to give this to, the ball that is that Luger would be seen as something new, however, has so far proven as a bit of a flop as far as getting the crowd to care about him one way or the other. This is obviously heavily pushed the role of the narcissist. One of wrestling's traditional sayings is if someone isn't over as a heel, they aren't going to get over when they're turned. So not a good sign for Lex Luger there, I guess, from what reports were from the crowd and how he was getting billed. But as I said before, he was seen as something new. Maybe they tried with Brett before and they felt like, okay, it wasn't quite what Vince wanted for whatever reason. But it kind of feels like Brett's got the respect here, I will say, from fans and probably co-workers. Luger at this point just turned 35, while Hart just turned 36. But more than anything else, the difference is the admission that the physical difference between the two, both in size, about 3.5 inches, and probably 30 pounds of muscular overload on, of course, Lex Luger at this point. So, like I'm saying, they're very, very different. And, of course, this brings us in now to July 26th, which was the first outing match, shall we say, for, of course, none other than the Lex Express. Matt, what's your first memories of the Lex Express?
Oh man, another one of those instances of what I was saying was like cheesy. I mean, I suppose at the time, great for kids, like there's this bus that goes around the country, and the Lex is in it, and if you're lucky, you might see it just drive past. I think that was a good little gimmick. I can't say it was awful. I think it was a great idea. If they were doing that now, and wrestlers were going around in buses and you knew just what the bus was, I'd be on the lookout for it as well myself.
Well, Meltzer reports Lex Luger is getting some media attention for his tour on this bus, which in many cities, is always going to be. I mean, he's putting here that the bus is only going towards where the house shows are, where they're touring, of course. At that point, on those nights, he's been saving Bret Hart a lot of the times. So after Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji are double teaming Hart, so he's getting on side by helping Bret in the feud with Yoko. The whole scenario of Luger at children's hospitals and kissing babies and being friendly to wrestling fans is hilarious, reports Meltzer. After everyone who formerly worked with him is probably going to be more knowing better than doing these kind of things. And also, of course, Harry first came in. This is quite a shocking difference between the narcissist gimmick and this kind of Lex Express business at the time. Matt, we've seen this, of course, in more recent years with what happens when this stuff gets thrown down your gullet when they're purposely positioning. Even at this point, and I know that times have changed, but I kind of feel like it's very, the way the reports are coming out, it seems very, the evidence is there to suggest WWF are basically throwing this one down as far as they can, your gullet, to say this is the guy you've got to cheer. I don't know whether at this point they've committed 100% to say this is the new face of the company, but it certainly feels, Matt, that they're putting everything behind this for this stuff to work. There's a lot of promoting going on. There's a lot of money behind this old Lex Express thing. Did you feel like they? I mean, I guess it always depends who you give it to, and I mean, I suppose as much as Hulk Hogan, I guess the one thing you can say about that guy is he got that part and he ran with it. I mean, you can't take that away from him. I'm not sure if everyone could have been as run with it as hard as he could have at that time. And I guess this is a classic case of saying that it's not always just about the luck and character that you get given, because you've got to back it up and you've got to kind of really be into it, which at this point, Matt, I'm kind of feeling like Luger perhaps maybe wasn't that guy off screen. I think maybe it just wasn't transparent enough. What was your take on, do you think Luger was a likeable type of guy? I mean, I'm not sure I would have got. I mean, even if I was young at the time, I do remember seeing Luger, but I don't remember really thinking, I really want to get behind that guy. I was still a Bret fan at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if it came down to a choice between the two, then I think hands down it was Bret.
Mm-hmm.
But